I'm Rob from Barefoot Gaming, and this is the Creed Rise to Glory Virtual Reality Review. This is a boxing game. If you can't tell from the name, if you are familiar with any of the Rocky movies, you are playing Adonis Creed. And an interesting thing that this does that no other boxing game that I have played has done really well is the fact that it actually shows your entire body. Now that's always a gamble when you're playing any game in virtual reality, because when it doesn't line up, it totally pulls you out of VR. This, however, actually felt like it worked pretty well. When you look down, it looked a little bit janky because my feet were sometimes in the ground a little bit and my knees were funny. Walking around, obviously, it's not tracking your feet. So that's something that'll make it stand out. Secondly, the music that kicks off right away starts giving you that feeling of that epic rockiness. Now, near as I can tell, they're not actually using the real soundtracks. They didn't license the soundtrack. They almost do. It starts off and it's great, and it gives you the feeling, but it didn't cost them the extra money. So you're not going to hear Eye of the Tiger. You're not actually going to hear the epic songs. PlayStation VR, HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, Windows Mixed Reality, it runs the entire gamut. This game has 7 fighters, 7 venues. There's a story mode, there's multiplayer, there is training modes. You can choose your difficulty, so you can play on rookie, on medium, on hard, and what ends up happening is your opponents get smarter. So that's the trade-off. You can't just go in there and wail on them. This has what I found to be a quite fun training mode. So there are multiple things you can train on. There's a treadmill, and if you're familiar with Survios's game Sprint Vector, you move around in this game the same way, kind of like you're operating ski poles where you swing your arms back and forth. That's the same way you run on the treadmill. Sometimes they'll hold up targets and you have to hit the targets in the right order. There'll be a heavy bag. The heavy bag actually monitors how hard you swing. So you can do like 100 rabbit punches or just hit it really hard every single time, and then you can get past the meter faster. At one point you can even beat up meat, just like in Rocky. You start off in story mode without spoiling it. Clearly this is following into movie tie-ins and such, but you start off with a different trainer. You go through a couple of fights, and then all of a sudden Rocky's the one training you. And the venues all look very different. The 7 venues all look different. The story mode, for example, there's one point where you're having a memory and you go back in time in your memory and you fight a bouncer outside in the street, just to give you a rough idea. Oddly enough, every time you knock him down, there's somebody counting. So it's somehow still ring rules, but whatever, there is a bit of a story to go to. And this game is exhausting. So if you're looking for a game that will make you sweat, this is a good game for you. This game is listed as seated, standing, and room scale. I don't know how seated would work because I did actually have to move around quite a bit. My play space gets quite a bit smaller when I'm recording it, so you can see me play. And I set up lights and stuff so that I can, make everything lit up properly so you don't see my background, you see the actual gameplay. And I beat the tar out of one of my umbrellas by accident. So you do have to be careful in what you're moving around. I don't think it's quite Gorn level, but you are going to be moving around a fair bit. And on that note, let's actually score this sucker. Pros, cons, $30 US. Now, Survios makes pretty looking games. They are not a small studio. They have experience doing this, and the game looks fantastic. The music, great. The physics, what it does is, instead of just swinging as hard as you can, if you have a high stamina yourself, that's not going to be enough. It will challenge you to go through a bunch of training modes before you get into a fight, and the better you do in your training, the more stamina your character will have in the fight. And you can build that back up by holding up your hands to protect your body. When you start getting a couple of good shots, one of your hands will glow, whichever one was getting the good shot, and you can finish them off. If, for example, you take too many hits, you get kind of knocked outside of your own body, and you get 2 glowing orbs, and you need to put your hands in those positions in-game for your character to not fall over. That'll regain your balance, as it were. The negatives, the con I'm going to list is there are only 7 venues. There are only 7 fighters. But they're done really well. The venues don't look like each other, Every time you move up, there are way more people watching you and cheering you on, and everything just feels bigger and better. The combatants all look very different. They fight differently. So I wish there were more, but the ones that are there are done great. The training is fun. Honestly, the very first time I tried this game, I played for, I don't know how long. I lost track, but I was super sweaty. I was exhausted, and I still wanted to keep playing. And I paid for it because the next day, I could barely lift my arms. And the day after that, anytime I leaned up against anything, the muscles in my back were quite painful. And even today, because I keep playing this game, I am still quite sore. And I'm not sorry about it. It's fun enough that even the training and just, if I were to just fight the same boxers, because there's your different difficulty levels, there is lots of replayability. And at only $30, this game is worth a buy. I highly recommend Creed. It's 4.5 out of 5, solid 4.5 out of 5. I wish there were more fighters. I wish there was some of the other stuff, but I'm happy with what I have. And that's the review. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more stuff from us. We do our best to put out quality, and if you have anything to say, post it in the comments. I will take a look, and I will do my best to get back to you. Like, share it if you would like. Let the world know, and I am out of here. I will talk to you again real soon. See ya.